When I first saw the trailer of Black Widow, I thought it was going to be so amazing, so cool, and I've been waiting for a Marvel movie for so long to come out because ever since the pandemic happened, we haven't really seen too much of those. We've seen some shows, but we haven't really been able to see the actual movies. And I have to say that I was kind of disappointed with this movie. Not too much, because it's not a bad movie, it's just not a good movie. It's an okay movie. This movie takes place right after Captain America Civil War, and it has General Thunderbolt Ross basically, trying to go out and find all the fugitives who were on Captain America's side, and basically we're following Natasha, Black Widow. Weirdly enough, even though the movie starts out with us seeing Thunderbolt Ross, he's not really in the movie. He's in the movie, but he doesn't do anything really. He's not really important. And instead we go over to another villain, which basically the main big bad organization that Natasha is fighting against is the Red Room. We see some backstory with the Red Room back in Age of Ultron, like a little glimpse. I think Loki talks about it back in Avengers.
Can you wipe out that much red? Dracov's daughter?
And basically the entire organization is basically the enemy of this. But we do get a certain villain in it that I really want to talk about. Taskmaster. If you're a fan of Taskmaster in any way, or even if you played Spider-Man PS4 and you saw Taskmaster in there and you thought it was a really exciting character, and you think that this character is the same character in this movie, you're going to be very, very disappointed, because Taskmaster in this movie isn't really a character. They don't even have any real lines. They have one line in the entire movie. They don't really have a personality. They just are there. And when I first saw Taskmaster in the trailers, I thought that they looked so cool. It reminded me of Winter Soldier. I mean, you saw in the trailers where you saw there was an actual enemy who was able to catch Captain America's shield, someone who could actually pose a great threat to Captain America. I love that. And I felt that in the trailers with Black Widow, because Taskmaster just seemed to be a really good fighter. He always just seemed to, in every scene I saw them in, she'd always seem scared of Taskmaster. And I was like, oh, okay, Taskmaster is going to be really cool. He's going to be really intimidating. But I don't know, they really aren't there. And they're one of those characters that, that since they're wearing a mask the entire time, the mystery is, oh, who even are they? And the entire time you're really excited to see, and then you figure it out, and you're like, oh, okay. And you don't really care. You don't really care about who they are. You don't really, to the point where it's you just kind of wish they didn't do Taskmaster. I feel like they really ruined the character. I feel like they could have been better with better personality, a better backstory, but I don't know. It just, they gave us this. They gave us basically, it feels like anyone could have played Taskmaster. It feels like literally anyone could have done it. And to the point where it's just why even have them in this movie? And the other villain in this movie, who basically is the entire leader of this organization, is also really boring. They have a personality, but they don't have an interesting one. They just seem to be a really insecure villain who is just so easily beaten. They seem kind of incompetent, and I don't know, I didn't like them either. So weirdly enough, even though Taskmaster as a villain was terrible, they were still the best villain in this movie. But even though I hated all of the villains in this movie, I really liked the heroes. The heroes were actually pretty great. I liked the main cast. I loved the actors. I loved their acting skills, of course. I loved their chemistry. Their chemistry just together felt so real. I loved the entire family dynamic that they had, because they felt like the world's most dysfunctional family, because they're kind of they're not a real family. They're all the undercover kind of family or whatever. And seeing them try to seeing how they deal with the fact that it's all just a ruse and not really all that real, but it's real to some of the people, but it's not real to others. It's really great seeing how they handle it, because the themes of this movie is basically family, and I think that the actors and the characters, the way they come together, it heightens the theme. It makes it really entertaining to watch, and I loved watching all of these characters interact with each other. When it comes to the ending, it felt very anticlimactic. We all seen the trailers where you see basically Black Widow falling from the sky while fighting Taskmaster, and in the trailer that fight looks really, really cool, but in the movie, it seems like the trailers showed us everything from the movie. There really isn't much after that. Like, there's not even much during it. It's like, okay, everything's falling down, they're fighting, but the fight doesn't last long. It lasts for like a couple of minutes. It's over. It's really anticlimactic. Not much really happens in it. Just like the rest of the story, nothing really happens. Like, the action's good. Like, all the action in this movie is really, really good. But the rest of this movie is so mid. It really just doesn't connect with me. You can tell this is a movie that Marvel, like, they felt like they needed to make, even though no one really wanted to make it. There's no story to be told. When it comes to other characters in Marvel, with the other things they made recently, like WandaVision, there was a story that needed to be told there. There's with Wanda and Vision, with them doing the House of M story, that's a story that needed to be told. With or with Loki or whatever, that's a story that could be told because it expands the universe. Black Widow is kind of expanding the universe, but it doesn't feel like a story that really needed to be told. It explains how she gets a jacket. That's kind of, this movie doesn't really amount to anything, especially because we know for a fact, since, you know, spoilers for Endgame, but it's an old movie now, she dies. In Endgame, Black Widow dies. So in this movie, it's just like, why should I care? It doesn't really give me a good reason to care. It has like the entire family dynamic. It has me caring about the other characters, but I honestly, I don't think anyone could really connect with the events that's really happening in this movie, because it really just doesn't matter, like, you know, how most prequels are. So in conclusion, I'm going to give Black Widow 3 stars. It had great characters, a pretty okay story and plot, nothing wrong with it, but it just felt like an unnecessary cash grab that just Marvel just made just to make it. It didn't feel like it was necessary, and because of that, it is really just an okay movie. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It never ever shattered any of my expectations. It didn't rise above what I thought this movie would be. I thought it would be great, and it was just kind of like, again, it was okay. But if you have a different thought about this movie, then comment below and, you know, tell me what your thoughts are about the movie, if you did see it. And if you agreed with me, then consider giving a thumbs up and maybe subscribing to see more of my content. And that's basically all I have to say about this. And yeah, see ya.